with the federal law known as FEPA, that is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, which protects the privacy of students' records and limits what an institution can release. The university also made this submission in a statement issued to CBS Broadcasting International. CBS is a broadcasting international television network, which of course is generally referred to as CBS News, one of America's biggest and most influential news network. Now, the American university highlighted that the United States federal law prevents it from providing any further information about Tinubu's record without his consent, though it said it will release Mr. Tinubu's academic records as requested if allowed to do so via court order. The university revealed that Tinubu's certificate was issued in 1979, and we do know that the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar had alleged that the documents showing that Tinubu graduated from Chicago State in 1979 were not authentic. Atiku highlighted it as grounds to nullify Tinubu's election victory. However, last week at a hearing in Chicago, Atiku's lawyers asked the federal judge to compel the Chicago State University to turn over Tinubu's academic documents and appear for depositions. And quite a lot actually took place. One of the spokeswomen said the university could confirm that he graduated and that she cannot authenticate the diploma because it was a ceremonial document and not part of a student's official academic file. Now, a lot's generated from this. Before then, we heard where the FBI said from October they were going to release 2,500 documents on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and a couple of persons wondered, 2,500 on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It is that important. It has such an import. So from October, 500 per month. So in 3 months, they're going to release about 3 or 4 months. They'll release 2,500 documents, which a couple of Nigerians believe would include his academic records, his stay in the US, and every other thing that he's been able to do, whereby we can have access to it. So I first of all started off with the fact that a particular lawmaker stated that it is impossible for the tribunal to upturn or unseat a president who has been declared by INEC. And we do know that over time in this part of the world, we've always seen those who have questioned the integrity of the electoral process go to courts, eventually go to the Supreme Court, and it doesn't work in their favor. What's your take? I'll start with you, Barrister Evans Ufeli. What do you think with that statement by Mr. Kadri, Usman Kadri?
Well, I don't believe that it's impossible to obtain that result. I don't believe it's impossible. INEC declared a result. The result is being contested by the Labour Party and the PDP. Now, to come and say that that is impossible because the president had already appointed ministers, had already had connections or activities with foreign engagements, and all that, that because of that, it's difficult. I don't think that is what the law is. The LP and the PDP that initiated, they're about to initiate an appeal to the ruling of the Court of Appeal, which means they were not satisfied with that result. So it is actually not appropriate to say that it is difficult to uphold. If the Supreme Court found out that the allegations or the prayers of the LP and the PDP, or one of which is actually meritorious, and I've decided to swing to that direction, and I've found out that there were irregularities truly, and that irregularities affected the outcome, or that the issue of fraud or conviction or the issue of disqualification were meritorious and viable, or strong enough to ground the claim of the petitioner. Why not? The Supreme Court will do the same Supreme Court we're talking about. Remember, some time ago, made in Celestino Meya versus Amechi and INEC actually, declared Rotimi Amechi the governor of Rivers State when he did not even contest the substantive elections. He only contested the primary election, and the heavens did not fall. And the Supreme Court said that it must do justice even if the heavens will fall. that the 180 days that is established by law, Oguntade, cannot be elongated, cannot be moved. He said that it was like the Rock of Gibraltar that cannot be moved. So the Supreme Court have that right to, if it deems it that truly there were irregularities and there were some level of malpractice, the Supreme Court can upturn that election and the heavens will not fall. Nigeria will not change. Okay. So
they'll change for good if they'll change.
It is the right of the people should not make statements like these that are sub judice. They should allow the court. That's one of the things I want to say this evening, that the public, the clergy, those who support a particular political party, or those who are followers or handlers and spokesmen, should allow the court to do its job. They should not be intercepting with their comments of what will be the outcome of a case that is still pending before the court. Let the court decide. Don't say it is difficult. It's not difficult. What the court wants to see is evidence. If you bring evidence to the effect that a particular matter should go this way, it will go that way on the strength of evidence and not just the court. So let's allow the court to do its job, and that's what I feel should happen.
Barrister Jerome, what do you think too? Come closer to the microphone.
Why agreeing with what my learned friend has said to a large extent, I also agree with what the man said too, because we have to constantly review our systems and procedures and processes. I'm saying this here. I was watching a place that a dog and a fowl was having issue on social media. The fowl was trying to eat something in a basket. The dog looked at the fowl, went and brought a cover and came and covered that, and that fowl was eaten. And that was what ended the whole fight. So the dog did not want to start fighting the fowl. He just went and brought a cover and covered that, and the fowl was eaten. And the fowl actually walked away. Just some point. So the dog looked beyond that fight and went to get a cover and cover the food. And that was how the fowl just left that place. Now, there are certain things that we might get into a murky water. That navigating it might be like, putting pressure and a lot of emotional, torture and other things upon certain people, or certain class of people, like judiciary in particular. If you can have a way that will avoid getting to that catastrophic situation by bringing out enactments that can curb that menace ahead of time, I think it's most appropriate. Going by what the lawmakers said, swearing the president in, allowing the president to appoint ministers, appoint attorney generals, appoint security apparatus, began to attend United Nations meeting, began to hobnob, fraternize with other world powers. And while he's still in court, you have given him enormous powers and influence. And you are putting even those judges under serious kind of fear. By EFCC, police, DSS, everything under the control of the man you want to remove. And then so many people have been appointed as ministers, as special advisors and heads of parastatals that might know one or two persons again within that judiciary too. Because we are dealing with human beings. Judiciary people are not, they didn't fall from heaven. They come from places, they interacted with people, and they know people. So, the president having all these powers and being in control of the whole apparatus of governance will definitely put pressure on them. We know when we have cases against the government. And I told my friend, I said, look, when you have cases against the government, don't broadcast it. If you go and begin to tell the world you have a case against the federal government, you might be surprised. If you're not strong enough as a lawyer, very few days to that judgment, a call might come. And that call might change. I'm saying it because I know what I go to court. I have to sue the federal government. A call might come and outcome might change. I said, better you just do it quietly so they will not even know that there's a matter pending against them. If what some of the judges, they said they don't know about the pendency of that matter, like the one that they got 20 billion against them, say they didn't even know that matter was pending. If they had known, I'm not saying that judgment will be manipulated, but that something would have happened because they exert their influence. Some of the judges have been appointed by them. They have been elevated by them. They still promise of still giving them some bonuses, some juicy things that will be done after delivering that judgment. Take for instance again, Professor Chidodin Kanu took us back to when this issue of Supreme Court began from Fatai Williams and Udo Udom and the rest of them then. When Obasanjo assumed office as the military president, he said that they didn't regard the office of the CJN as something important until when Fatai Williams now reminded Obasanjo about his intention to allow Shagari and Ekweme to take over power from him. He knew who Obasanjo was supporting. He said that there is likelihood that matter will go to court. And Obasanjo needed somebody he can trust. So by the time that matter will come to court, the person will stand his ground. So I read it. So if you when the battle started, so after that persuasive talks, I say that Zik has influence in the east, Tawolo has influence in the west. The Obasanjo you look for somebody that will handle the outcome of that. So when that thing eventually happened, eventually I know what happened between Awolowo and Shagari, and how that judgment was decided. The Supreme Court justice then, his appointment was predicated upon the outcome of that election. I do understand my point. Yes. They will take it back to even in the military again. What happened when they were going to hand over, and the one that handed from what happened from time of Obasanjo, even the time of Buhari, when you couldn't trust or know him as someone that did not emanate from his caucus or from his administration, he tried by all means to remove him. He didn't want to gamble it. He didn't want to gamble it at all. Let me gamble it. I know whether justice will be passed. For the fact or not, him didn't come from the quarters that entrusted so much. They came up with so many kangaroo things and remove him and put somebody they know that because they were waiting for that thing to come. So when you see a flood moving now, you know that this flood will basically get to this place. Let us put a barricade and wait for this flood. They know that election might have issues and Supreme Court will decide it. And they removed Onohen. And we saw what happened. And even when this Ariwara was appointed, I'm so sorry, I have to be blunt. Some people are even fingering Tinubu there. That how come Tanko didn't serve his tenure? That this is 2023 battle starting right now. That why Tanko couldn't finish his tenure? The Tanko has been like that since. Why is it that now that so Buhari is going to Tanko quite hurriedly, and after all the couldn't ascend that post, they already resigned and took and came with somebody that they know that will do their bidding. I'm not indicting judicial officers, but I'm looking at the trajectory and the historical background of judiciary and their challenges they have had. Like so Onimo and the rest of them that decided that case of Shagari, and they know how they were eventually
let me ask you something. Let me ask you, Barrister Joe. The reason why I'm asking this particular election, it seemed like it was the concentration, the attention that was paid to it was massive. Nigerians wanted change. Nigerians wanted a shift from the norm. You know, for almost more than 16 years after the PDP, they thought that, okay, when Buhari comes, things will be better. You know, they looked at his history from when he was a military president, and they felt, okay, there will be no corruption, the economy will be boosted, there will be security. But it seemed worse. And we now came into a tenure that was nonchalant, some sort of lackadaisical, did not really respond to the people's cries. Exactly. So there was a lot that happened, and so Nigerians wanted a shift, and they knew that the only time that they had that right will be during the elections, when they can come in to cast their vote. But a couple of persons who were not happy when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was declared by INEC as the winner, and so everyone looked at the judiciary to do something. Now, with the Supreme Court being the last resort, you know, for the opposition parties, that is the PDP and Labour Party, with some evidence, or would I say some documents that have been released with the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party pursuing the president's record, wanting to use it as a means within the 14-day window to appeal. Do you think it will make any difference? And if the Supreme Court is to look at what the tribunal ruled on, do you think that they will be dispassionate in looking at it? A couple of legal practitioners complained that the tribunal was more technical in their approach to looking at these issues than, you know, balancing it. So what's your take on
presidential election? Sorry, I'm just saying this. It have always been decided on the perspective of technicalities. Okay. Even Awolowo's 12% then. It was technicality. If you look at what transpired in 2019 about Sava or not Sava being, you know, the court did not dwell on the outcome of that election much. It dwelt on the fact that Sava was not part of our constitution, was not part of our electoral law. Not really what transpired between Atiku and Buhari then. So mostly when you look at all these elections, they are largely focused on, justice of judgments of the Supreme Court regarding presidential elections. In governorship election, we have seen where there's someone enough courage to remove governors, but you can know governors are not like state level. They're not up to like presidential level, you know. So, but presidential level, we see a lot of intrigues playing out. And like I said here earlier one day, that our criminal law lecturer, Professor Amadi, may he so rest in peace, told us in our third year that a corrupt judge can write 2 perfect judgments and put them for sale and back them up, each up with
can write 2 correct
perfect judgment, 2 powerful judgments that you cannot fault for and against, and put them, and when you look at them, they will follow the argument that he will put in there, the material he will follow, the case laws, constitutional interpretations, acts, everything that he will follow before he arrived at that conclusion will be very, very faultless. And he will still write another one against it again, and it will be same faultless, and keep it for whoever that wants to give him the highest bidder. So I'm not saying that in law, like any issue you raise, a lawyer will always counter it. Even when you are in court, you might finish adopting your final written address. It will be able to start clapping for you. But by the time the other counsel will adopt his own and make his own adumbration, people may start clapping for him. It's not left for the judge to agree on one of the arguments. You 2 of you raise them. The one he chooses to agree with. But within your own persuasive points and opinions you have before the court, you are convinced that you're on the right path. The other party will also come with their own opinions and believe they're on the right path. I've been in court. The other side was like, before Justice Shonaike, 5 sons. The other 5, about 4 sons. A very, very persuasive argument, but the court must rule. So what I'm saying in essence is that what should be the issue raised by that Baba Ahmed when he shouted that Tinubu should not be sworn in. That is the angle we have to start looking at. Don't swear a president in until all issues of election regarding that candidate has been concluded. Let us look at our acts. Now things are, because the society develops by evolving certain process and procedures and looking at certain kind of challenges that will emanate from whatever conduct or whatever we have had. Like this current election now threw up a lot of issues. 2019 threw up issues which we try to correct by getting into electronic voting and passing a law to back it up before they now change the whole thing and told us constitution is still supreme. Next time we have to amend the constitution to, that's what they're telling us now, before whatever that we pass into law will be seen as binding and enforceable. So what we should do regarding what that lawmaker said, he's in the system. He's not speaking outside the bar. That lawmaker knew what, because he has been part of it. So he knows that, look, he knew their meetings, he knew their tentacles, he knew there's something they will not tell us here, which he's not going to tell us. Look at what they used to use powers to do when it comes influencing certain people in government, in judiciary. So we should look at that. Why agree with what my other friend said holistically? Judges, if they are bold enough, if we call it judicial activism, if they have that radicalism in them to dare the devil, consider nothing, be bold enough and put Nigerians first, they can still deliver justice instead of judgment or technicality. But to remove the fact that somebody has been sworn in with all the tentacles and networks and the influence and powers now cannot have a role to play in what will be the outcome of his justice, it's not telling ourselves the whole truth.
All right,
so going forward, we must find a way to...
We have a lot to talk about. So before you start giving your warning, there's a lot. There are areas where I need you to actually buttress that warning and give what you think concerning how the Apex Court needs to proceed from here on. Barrister Evans Ufeli, this particular development or this scenario that I want to read out to you may actually sound a little bit funny, but let me read it out. It's still concerning the opposition political parties and how a couple of persons are reacting to them proceeding to the Apex Court. Some persons feel they shouldn't actually proceed to the Apex Court. There is no point. Okay, so I don't know how to read this out, but White Witches and Wizards Association of Nigeria have actually sent a message to the presidential candidate of the Labour Party and his counterpart in the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, over the verdict of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. Now, these associations advised Obi and Atiku to accept defeat, move on with their lives, and stop wasting their time and resources chasing shadows by going to court. They also urged the presidential candidate to sheathe their swords and support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as he strives to build a new Nigeria. They subsequently urged other politicians who suffered defeat at the polls to stop wasting money on litigations by exploring traditional ways of knowing what the outcome of their matters would be before embarking on the journey of reckless spending on court cases. Now, Iboy said that they had initially warned Obi and Atiku not to go to court, but they refused to listen. Now, during an emergency meeting that was convened recently in Abuja, the spokesman of the group, Dr. Okwei Iboy, said Atiku and Obi should accept the fate that befell them, we have already warned them not to go to the election petition tribunal, but when they insisted they were going, we too sat and analyzed the petition of the two major contenders and the other fringe political party seeking relevance by filing a petition at the tribunal. We weighed the petitions and evidence advanced by the two parties and discovered that they were replete with emptiness. They went ahead to give other, scenarios painted for the Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party. So they said Obi has more prospects. Let him play national politics, but religious or sectional politics, he could still go places, but he must get his politics right. Now, let me ask you. This is one association coupled with other associations who are of the same belief. In fact, a couple of other legal practitioners have also come out to advise the Labour Party and the PDP from proceeding further to the apex court. They tell them that the wasted monies of persons who have come together to support their dream, and that it's not possible for them to, with how the tribunal ruled, that it's not possible for them to get anything different or any different results at the apex court. Do you believe what this supposed association is saying?
The White Witches Association of Nigeria. I do not think their position is anything to go by.
Okay.
You do not issue or grant legal advice to a candidate that has not briefed you. I mean, Obi and the LP have not briefed the White Witches Association of Nigeria to give legal advice on the case on that reference. In as much as the LP did not, get victory at the Court of Appeal, the tribunal, the Court of Appeal sitting as tribunal, it is in their own interest to exhaust their options of appeal. That's what I think.
Okay.
No matter how bad a case is, you need to, because the White Witch Association, they are doing this as if I think they are stating this as if they have seen the end from the beginning. Or they are trying to stand as a big brother in the issue. And just like Larry Peter said, we have come home from the bloodless war with suckings heart, our boat full of pride from the true massacre of the soul. When we have asked, what does it cost to be loved and left alone? It's like they're speaking from the point of love or from the point of advice, or they are talking and making statement advisedly. But it does not in any way, it does not in any way erode the prospect of appeal. When a candidate is dissatisfied under our law, it does not matter how many persons gather to say don't go further. If I have not briefed you to give me legal advice, why should you offer same to me? How be it that you are from some spiritual organization or witches association, it does not matter. If the legal team of P2B feels that the Court of Appeal erred in law to have reached that conclusion, to have said, you didn't prove your case, or to say that the substantive president of Nigeria had issues of disqualification predicated on Section 137 and Section 131 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, it is in the right of that legal team to advise their clients accordingly. And if their client have agreed that they should go on appeal, why not? This case should go to appeal. I want it to go to the Court of Appeal because of the enrichment of our jurisprudence. And when it goes on appeal, it's either going to be this way or that way. I do not like it when people try to preempt the Court of Appeal, or people who sit in their houses and say that this is how it will go. There were people who, when the case of Celestino Mayers and Mechi and PDP, who sat in their homes and said that Mechi has lost out. Because, I mean, a man that did not contest the governorship election then in Rivers State, what miracle are you going to do? But the Supreme Court looks at the heavens and said that we are going to do justice even if the heavens fall. That if a man has won the primaries and then he's substituted, let us also get back at society and get back at that fraud and say, even though this man did not contest the Mechi had already left the country. He was away. He was out of the country. The judgment was pronounced that he's supposed to be the governor of that state, and he came back. So let the law take its course. You never can tell. The Supreme Court may come from a different angle entirely and resolve some of these issues. The thing is this, that somebody have alleged that there were irregularities during this election. Before you and I, before the common man on the street, we cannot divorce the fact that there were no irregularities.
That's true.
The only thing that is left is the proof.
You
understand?
Yes.
So if on appeal they feel that perhaps they could do something different from what they did at the Court of First Instance, why do you gather as Witches Association of Nigeria? So to dissuade them from taking that prospect to do the needful. It is important we allow people. This is a case between the LP and the APC and the PDP. It's not a case between them and you.
Okay.
So why should you begin to issue a legal opinion on the issue?
Barrister John Walker, apparently the legal teams of Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi, they are yet to file their appeal. Right, you do know that the presidential election petition court threw out their petition stating that it lacked merit. They were even fined for wasting the court's time for not, presenting evidences to back their claims which were written on their petitions. Now, although there was a press conference that was held immediately after the presidential election petition tribunal's judgment, I think 2 days after, the Labour Party and the PDP too, they gave the principals gave their own press conference saying that they were going to appeal. But there is a 14-day timeline which is elapsed on September 20. However, up till now, they haven't filed their appeal. In fact, they according to them, they said that they're going to file the appeal as soon as possible within the constitutional and statutory period. All the lawyers are retained. They said their team is intact and as solid as a rock of Gibraltar. Okay, that cannot be moved. And Kehinde Edun, the National Legal Advisor of the Labour Party, noted that the team was working with the legal time frame. They said, we have not filed the appeal yet because we are still within the time frame. It will be done any moment from now. So I also want to ask you, why do you think they're taking time? Do you think they don't want to make the mistake that would give them that porosity, they'll give that technical porosity as the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal did? Then secondly, will there be anything new though from what they tendered at the Presidential Election Petition Court that they would tender to the Supreme Court? Because if you're taking your time to want to present your appeal, would there be any difference from what you presented at the Tribunal Court to what you present at the Supreme Court?
Number one, you know that they have a legal team. It's not like one law firm or one lawyer handling the appeal.
All right.
So when you have a legal team, it means that individual lawyers should make their inputs, come up with they raise issues, come up with what they believe. Look at the judgment with the eye of a lawyer. People don't know that you may look at the documents, but not with eye of a lawyer. So each they don't know what that the lawyers have their own eyes.
Yeah.
That's why when we look at, you may write a letter, lawyers will look at that letter, say, I throw this letter away. If you submit it, look at the issue that you may have. So call it issues. So they look at all the paragraphs of that judgment, study to know where they can pick.
To find the particulars of errors.
Yeah, particulars of errors, like where the court erred or where they have a certain kind of issues to rely on that they use to convince Supreme Court, which is sitting as appellate court now. So they identify all these issues. Then they'll bring them together. The other lawyers in the team will also look at those issues, whether issues raised as per all the individual lawyers are like cogent enough for them to put it as their collective issue that they'll argue on appeal. And then they'll have to if they eventually agree on a number of issues, if they want to raise 5 issues, 6 issues, 10 issues, they have to begin to add legal opinions and the cases and views and arguments on each of the issues. Then they have to do all these things for them to have a formidable appeal that will make the court to agree with them why that judgment of their tribunal should be nullified as being erroneously delivered. So at each issue they canvass, they must back it up with law, with case laws, with precedents, if any, with arguments, with facts. Though that they are going to begin to raise facts as new facts there. But these are the things that they have to do. So it's not something like letter writing. The problem we have in Nigeria, like I said, Nigeria has almost this election tribunal move Nigerian literacy in legal issue up to 15%. Before now, we have almost 7% of knowledge issue based, legal issue based in Nigeria. They don't know how legal issues are done. Even sometimes when they want to consult you as a lawyer, they say, lawyer, go and get they say you should bring a letter to court. They say you should bring a letter from court to bank to open my account. They call it a letter. They don't even know that.
No, that you need a
lawyer, have you served them that letter? If they're talking about court process that you have like almost 15 or 30 or 40 pages, they put cases, put sections, they say, have you served them that letter? It's a court process, they call a letter. So because of that, they don't know the magnanimity, the intricacies.
Yes.
And the enormous job involved in legalism. Yes. So I believe, and then more so, when they are still within the time frame as provided by the rules guiding the appeal to Supreme Court with respect to election petition matters. So why would they rush it when they are still within time? So I believe 20th is like Wednesday next week. Let them take their time, look at every issue, review every issue, have a very watertight appeal to Supreme Court, canvass their issues, then argue on their issues. Because it's the argument they will have in the appeal that the court will look at. Those arguments must be well arranged in a way that it will convince the minds or sway the opinion of the appellate court, because already they are assuming against the time. The judgment is not in their favor, and they want the Supreme Court to upturn it. So you have to convince the court why the lower court delivered that judgment in error. Where they erred, areas they erred in law, and back it up, expatiate it, and then why they will now agree with you, and then not with what was delivered at the lower court. So it's a Herculean task. Because the other one that's already won, they are coming to tell the court, uphold our victory, uphold our ruling, uphold our this thing, uphold our that. They don't have major jobs to do, but you want to upturn it. So you have a very, very arduous task of letting the court know, one, the judgment was delivered in error, and why the court will not deliver it in your favor. So I believe they are right in taking their time, in as much as the statutory time provided for them by the rules are still within within the time, within their reach.
What an interesting turn of events. Barrister Evans, what would you say to that as well?
Well, you see, the issue is that you are going to have an extensive legal fireworks.
Okay.
Cicero say the law is the highest reasoning embedded by nature, which permits what should be done and forbids the contrary. The losing side already know that there are issues that the Court of Appeal ought to have considered differently, that they didn't consider differently.
Right.
And as such, they are going to read that judgment and outline the particulars of error of the court. You cannot say that the entire judgment, I speak dispassionately about this. I am not for or against any of the political party. What I do is I looked at law. You cannot say that the entire judgment that was read within 12 hours, that everything that the Court of Appeal said there were right. And you cannot say they were all wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so they are going to look at it, like the issues of witnesses, for example, that were dismissed, 7 witnesses out of the, even though the rules,
9 out of 13.
Yes, even though the rules clearly say that in election petition, once you have filed your substantive witnesses, you cannot begin to add witnesses along the line to that effect, which is the rules of court. But if you also look at section 175, subsection 1 of the Evidence Act, it says all persons shall be competent to testify, except the court consider have been prevented from understanding the question put to them, or from giving rational answer to those questions by reasons of tender years, extreme old age, disease, whether of the body or of the mind, or any cause of the same kind. All persons shall be competent to testify. So if all persons shall be competent to testify, and you have a rule of court that says that if you have already filed your substantive witnesses, every other witnesses should not be consulted, you begin to find grounds of appeal, even though you have a rules of court that says so. Can the rule of court displace the extant laws of evidence? Those are questions of appeal. Okay, so these questions will be determined on the strength.
Even the issue of subpoena.
Yes, these evidence will be determined by the. Yeah, it is even that section 175 of the Evidence Act that activates this subpoena thing, that yes, all persons shall be competent to testify. The only grounds upon which where you have disease of the mind, extreme old age, and any cause of its same kind. Those are the exceptions. Okay. Otherwise, all person compellability of witnesses.
Yes.
Competency and compellability of witnesses is a part of the rules of evidence. So the parties, it's just that this society, the Nigerian society, is not one that strives very strong on knowledge, not just knowledge, but the knowledge of law. Just yesterday, some of the housemates of the Big Brother Africa were asked simple elementary current affairs questions, and they were unable to answer any, all of them, including the lawyer in the house. So it tells you that my attention was drawn to this by a very young mentee. Okay. And it tells you that why they invest so much in distending their buttocks and their breasts, so to speak. They spend little time in acquiring knowledge, which is supposed to be the universal property of mankind. So it's not a society that can analyze. To make it worse, knowledge that is now at the fingertip, very easy, accessible. So easy to just do your research and all of that. Even first Nigerian president don't know. These days you even require so little to know. I remember those days when I had to write jam and I had to borrow books that I do not have, that I will use. Overnight. I will take a notebook and copy the entire textbook and finish it in 2 days. I'll return the book and I'll fall back to my notes. So we don't have that society right now. Nigerian society must understand that. You see, if a man is saying I'm not satisfied, he's not satisfied. There's nothing you can do about it or to allow him to explore his options of appeal. And exploring the options of appeal is not a crime under our law. Okay. It is just so that we get to the root of the matter, and that's exactly what is going to happen. Whether you are for or against makes no difference as to my right to appeal. I can even decide to appeal when I know that I will lose. You never can tell that you can lose until you have exploited the options. But Barrister Evans, there were very sensitive issues that were brought up. Yes. It's quite unfortunate that the legal team did not have, or within the window that was provided for them to bring in evidence, they couldn't bring in the kind of evidence needed to tight these loopholes that the tribunal judges listed as to why their petitions could not be considered substantial. But if we look at some situations in terms of some circumstances where there seem to have been bias, circumstances where there seem to be, especially the president's record, the double nomination thing with his vice. If we intricately look at these issues, you would want to understand where the opposition political party is coming from. The double nomination would have succeeded. Okay. You know why it did not succeed? Why? It did not succeed because they went to the wrong court. And they went to court when the matter was statute bar. It would have succeeded because there was double nomination. Really. Okay, so what court would they have gone to? You see, they are supposed to go to the Federal High Court. Federal High Court? Yes. Before going to the tribunal? You see, it's a pre-election matter. Okay. Pre-election matter, you are saying there's a double nomination. You're supposed to go to the Federal High Court to ventilate. Now, you didn't go within the time provided by law. 2, the party that went to court did not contest the presidential election, meaning they do not have local standard, no jurisdiction of the court does not have jurisdiction, and the other issues of statute bar. So that's how they were knocked off. The legal team did not advise properly. This is where the questions came. You know, these two parties had legal teams, strong legal teams. Yeah, but the party that went to court for double nomination was not the PDP and was not the LP. It was the APM. But we knew that the APM and the PDP were sort of... No, the issue is that they did not contest that election. They did not contest. It's people that contested a presidential election with that would have actually... The Electoral Act be proper to bring that action. So they just allowed that thing to go. Yeah, because you see, once a matter in void in law is a nullity, UAC food was a mark void. You cannot put something on nothing. I expect it to stand. To collapse. So this society, I wish that you were in that legal team, right? No, I wish that everyone in Nigeria should study law. I wish that. No, but I wish you were in one of the legal team. Maybe you would have been able to advise them properly. When that issue came, let me tell you, in law, and sometimes in law, there are things you also gamble. Okay. There was a matter that came up. I told my lawyer, look, we have a terrible issue in this matter. He says, but let's just gamble it.
Do you understand my point now? So we put in a lot of things. We call it covering the field. We just cover the field, bring in a lot of things. Maybe courts can look into one.
Sometimes you can succeed.
Just a point. And to our greatest surprise, do you know we succeeded? The issue that court used to like give judgment in our favor was not even something that we actually considered that would be like appropriate. In fact, as a matter of fact, we sent a lawyer that is just the most junior lawyer in our office to go for that judgment, and it was in our favor. So in most cases, the judges might not even consider those things. Like in the course of this interaction, my friend mentioned certain things. If you look at the whole judgment that was given, they were not entirely wrong.
Okay.
And they were not entirely correct too. Not entirely wrong and not entirely correct. So you those areas that are not correct, they can still use those areas to nullify that judgment. The areas that are correct, they can still use those areas to like rule in favor of the person they ruled in. So now there's always a ground of appeal. Okay. Those areas you don't agree with, which they know, like 25% of Abuja now, you can see they gambled it. It was not convincing. They couldn't convince anybody.
So there was nothing special about the FCC.
Course, you know, they have precedents and judgment that say there was something special about Abuja, and we all know that there's something special about Abuja.
Couldn't those cases have been cited while they were defending?
The court overlooked them. That's why they're going on appeal.
Now, if they
the issue of this electoral, gifts and other things, the court also gambled it. They couldn't give convincing reason why that gift is.
They said it was at INEC's disposal to collate or call results at the wish.
And they couldn't come forward.
There was no reprimand even on INEC.
What actually happened, and court gambled it. Till today, nobody knew what actually transpired.
Now, these are the cracks in the judgment of the presidential election petition tribunal. Even if a lot of Nigerians did not agree with some things, like you mentioned, there are some things that were right, some things were wrong. Now, at the apex court, the Supreme Court, the idea is for these the Labour Party and the PDP to bring out these cracks that the presidential election judges did not properly look into, or possibly just overlooked, like they were a minority.
For them to like arrive at a predestined destination.
Okay.
You know, sometimes I'm trying to be plain. Sometimes a judge, why I'm saying is that we are court-going lawyers.
Okay.
A judge might decide not to agree with you on a certain, even ordinary motion, even on the bench ruling.
Okay.
The court will have actually made up his mind. I'm not going to grant this application. So now when you are even moving application, court will tell you I'm not granting it. Okay. But you can go ahead and move it. Court has already had a predestined destination of that, whatever you are saying there. I'm not going to grant it. So in that on the bench ruling, court will find a way, move around, and say come to the conclusion that he won't grant it because he has made up his mind. I'm not granting this. Some of judges might be bold enough to even tell you, counsel, I'm not going to grant this application. They say, my Lord, I want to let yourself go ahead. So when you say go ahead, some lawyers will tell you, why not withdraw it? Why not find a way and say, okay, might I be guided by the court? Why not find a way to say, okay, might I take a date or might I do this? Because I told you, I'm not going to grant it. He has already made up his mind. Whatever you are saying there, he's not going to, and he will not grant it. Now, we are seeing if judges are like in a dilemma, and they have made up their mind, look, we want to grant this judgment in favor of this person. Any other thing that is contrary to that judgment, that thing in that you are written address or whatever, they will jump it. They will jump it and say come to that conclusion they have made up their mind to come to. Some issues you might raise. I've had a matter involving federal government that court even told me that I would have gone to Abuja to get a gazette, a senatorial gazette to attach in my something that was in public knowledge. Newspaper I cited, they say it's neither here nor there. Court has made up his mind that look, I don't want this matter to go against federal government. So every issue that court will use to nullify that, they just gambled it and arrived at that destination. Essence of going on appeal is to look at the processes that the court used to arrive at this destination, whether on all fours they align with justice and the merits of this case.
Barrister Joe
or whether they are not.
Barrister Joe Wokedi, Barrister Evans Sufili.
So now let them go to Supreme Court and let Supreme Court also look into all these issues.
I do not
and tell us that
I do not envy your profession. Yeah. It's literally you need to be a walking encyclopedia, because looking at the intricacies of these cases, it's actually quite deep, and the technicalities to actually notice, you almost need to be in the head of the judges to know what areas they could pick as a loophole. The way the judges rolled out the judgment, it seemed like it was too easy. like the legal team of these opposition parties, did not do due diligence to see what they tendered, what they wrote in the petition, the evidence that they supposedly provided, and possibly on what grounds that some of their petitions could be, discharged. But let's look at another another issue that is, still in content, whether there's a context about it, is concerning the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and he has appealed to the U.S. federal judge to disregard a record suggesting that the individual admitted to Chicago State University in the 1970s was a female, as reported by this particular online paper, the People's Gazette. Now, I remember I told you that during the course of the week, we had the back and forth concerning that certificate. We had him saying that, okay, indeed, when they went to the court, the legal team representing the president, because it was via a telephone conference that they were able to attend to the court hearing in Chicago. Now, they said that so long as the school admits that he indeed attended, the court asked that I think the PDP's legal team asked for the school to swear an oath. And Tinubu's team said there is no need for the school to swear an oath, pending the fact that they admitted that he indeed attended that institution. But here is where it got a little bit dicey. And I need to ask this, because why would the president of the country be questioned into every nitty-gritty about the president be in question? I think that's what a lot of Nigerians are wondering. It's a very simple thing. You could either not have tendered that certificate and just be admitted the minimum certificate that is required. So they said again that the lawyer, remember I told you the lawyer who represented the team of the president, Christopher Carmichael, raised the argument on the president's behalf. He argued that introducing new matters in the ongoing case, and that the opponent is not meant to introduce anything new because it may not be admitted at the Supreme Court. They will have to work with what the petitioners tendered, that the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal worked with. Now, let's go ahead. This subpoena has been obtained is stating that the Justice Jeffrey Gilbert of the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois recommended that all parties appear before the court for the hearing. Now, the lawyers claimed that controversies surrounding his identity were conspiracy theories. This is from the legal team of the APC. Beyond that, they also stated that the People's Democratic Party is also on a fishing expedition. These are two instances. Before the hearing, they said that what the People's Democratic Party were selling out there is just conspiracy theories, nothing true and nothing authentic about it. Later, after the hearing, the legal team said that the People's Democratic Party's legal team is on a fishing expedition, nothing substantial. All right. So they also said that they asked that Atiku's lawyers disagreed and stated that the hearing should proceed as scheduled, meaning that the legal team of the APC did not want the hearing to continue because, according to them, they felt that the opposition party, that's the PDP, were just working with conspiracy theories and nothing substantial. All for the hearing to take place. And then the school admitted that they could not authenticate the genuinity of that particular document. Later, we saw another one where we saw a document, I think that was last week, where the school now gave a deposition. That deposition, I think that was in 2022, because the former media aide to Muhammadu Buhari, that's Bashir Ahmed, on Twitter, he put up some documents. There were depositions, and we saw, they termed it like the president's transcript, the transcript of his results. And they said he did so well. They put up some subjects, but we could see the year 2022 on that particular transcript. And on that transcript too, they also said that this deposition was, I think that was last year as well, where they said that that was an authenticated document, that was just a ceremonial one. In fact, there was an oath that was sworn to that effect by a particular individual who said he is the secretary, and stated that it was the font and the imputation in 1979 that was different from how the certificate could be constructed now. That is the seal and the serial number on the certificate now and then could be minor differences, and that because it was manually done that period, that errors are expected to be seen, which wowed a lot of people. The same school, said that you could not authenticate that particular document. So where is that statement coming from? The question is, why the back and forth about this particular certificate?
It's quite obvious that there is something that the president is hiding regarding his certificate and his results.
Okay.
We all went to school. I still know the secondary school I went to. If you ask me if any of my certificates, I'll boldly tell you to go to that place and get it. If I'm not in custody of it, it's not something that will, draw a Lego battle and all these front and backward, kind of attitude. And also the university I attended. I'll tell you my year, the school, the faculty, and for you to go to center phase, if they have it on their record, they'll have on their records there and get it. Or I'll make it available to you. They're all in my office. And then somebody now aspiring, or that is aspired now, is now leading a nation. They're supposed to see, look at us as the symbol of integrity and reputation and a role model to our younger generation. It's finding it difficult to even allow the school where he claimed that he graduated to make available his transcript. And when we do our masters and whatever, the schools will ask for your transcript. I mean, you two that want to enroll you for your master's degree program. You quietly, they'll write to your school will authenticate and even send to them directly. You don't even need to see the for school to school. Now, this issue has dragged us to court in US. And then lawyers defending the president still making efforts to stop the court from hearing the matter, calling it, fishing expedition or whatever. If it's fishing expedition, why not allow them to cast their net inside the fish and bring it empty? And they cannot know that they couldn't get a fish. They're telling them not to cast their net inside the fish because it's going to be empty. Allow them to do that. You are not the one doing it. They are the ones doing it. Allow the school to come and tell us what happened. And school now telling us, okay, that he graduated 1999. He said that he graduated from this. Like when I was here last time, I said that, look, Tinubu attending that CSU or whatever they call
institution.
That school, it's not an issue. It's not the major issue that people are contending. What they are contending is the facts regarding his enrollment in that school and the results you obtained from that school, the contents of the results. Whether he attended the school or not, I don't think that is the major issue in contention. The major issue in contention is that what are the results you claim that you got? We have seen some governors, the governor for Osun State that brought his results one time. I don't want to say something that Adeleke, we saw so many F9s there, so many whatever. The Premier said that what they said that he must have attended that institution. It's not that he must make A's.
So long as he attended the institution and it
is his name.
Yeah, okay.
And that couldn't fly. They couldn't disqualify him with that. The young man is a governor today. He made so many funny marks in his grades there. But that's not what court is looking at. Court look at, is that Adeleke? The answer is this is Adeleke. The Adeleke went to this school. Yes, he went to this school. Whether he scored F9 throughout or F8 throughout, it's not the business of the court. Because that's not what the constitution says. Okay. Why is the president a kind of putting in so much energy, so much effort in trying to prevent people from having access to his academic records? More so, when his promoters are telling us that he was so intelligent, which he would have gladly brandished before us and had to his PR and to whatever good name he told that he has. Right. And now again, even that university has a clause in what they said. I believe that matter is still in court.
They're still in court.
If the court would make express, if it is our own claim here, we'll call it express order, demanding that they should make available all the contents of that, his education or whatever in that school. I think the Atiku's lawyer should go back to court and tell the courts, look at the handicaps.
Do you think there will still be time? Because by Wednesday, the 14-day window would elapse.
Look at the handicaps or whatever they have suffered. Then let the court, let them make available whatever they have.
Barrister Evans, because I was trying. He was giving an advice that the legal team of a presidential candidate of the PDP should actually go to court and see. But they have a very, very limited time. It may not be possible. They still have to wait, but we don't know if it will be expedited. It depends, because the school right now, they feel they have been harassed, intimidated, embarrassed by Nigerians, knocking on their doors and asking to get the document of Tinubus records there. Although the school is saying that it's only a court that can give an order for them to release his records, or the individual himself. Now that he's the president of the country, Nigerians feel that it shouldn't be a matter of dispute. Okay, so we're still talking on this particular CSU certificate that is still in contention. A former director of strategy and communications under ex-president Goodluck Jonathan's administration, Jackson Ude, has alleged that the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Olukayode Ariwoola, has perfected plans to preempt the ruling of the United States Court bordering on President Bola Tinubu's academic records at Chicago State University. Now, he made that statement via a tweet, or rather the X handle, just on Saturday. He said they are rushing to constitute a Supreme Court panel that will hurriedly hear appeals from the Presidential Election Petition Court so that the decision of the U.S. Court will become a mere academic exercise. All right. Now, this is basically, he alleged that the decision of the CJN to hurry up that determination of appeal from the Presidential Election Court on Atiku and Labour Party is to preempt the outcome of the U.S. Court, which has to do with qualification of Tinubu in standing for the 2023 poll. And then he went ahead to the Justice Jeffrey Gilbert of the U.S. District Court had reserved ruling on whether or not to order the school to release the academic records of Bola Tinubu to Atiku Abubakar. So right now, at this time, the school did not give that order. They reserved the hearing. And then last week, we now saw that the president's transcript has been released. A couple of Nigerians feel that, okay, this is a way of...
Was it from official quarters?
It was not necessarily from official quarters. But it went all over. I remember we talked about it on Friday. So a couple of persons feel, okay, this was a propaganda move from the presidency to authenticate the president's claim that he indeed attended that institution. Do you think, based on what this individual is saying, this director of strategy and communications, that there is a possibility of that taking place at this dispensation with our judicial process, that they could quickly constitute a Supreme Court team of justices to hurriedly look into the appeal from the Labour Party and the PDP?
No, I don't think that. The court doesn't work like that.
So where do these claims come from?
That guy's not a judge. That's not a lawyer.
He says a communication strategist. Where did they get this information from?
See, the public should not destroy this country.
It's not a law. It doesn't.
People wade into legal issues they know nothing about. The law is about evidence. And those who are saying, okay, we need to see and get the certificate or whatever, the school in question have already said that the president attended that university. Okay? The school have said so. And for me, I think that is sufficient. The school have said he attended it. Now, those who are not satisfied that what he presented is not what he got from the school and all that. The school is talking about the issue of confidentiality, the issue that they cannot authenticate and all that. And then there's a court case within the space and all that. Why don't you allow the court to resolve, to decide? You see, people just believe that there is nothing the school is going to say that certificate is fake.
Like they want to will it. They want to will it. They want it to be
the way they are going about it makes it suspicious.
Hold on. The way some people are going about it, I don't think even if the school release that certificate,
they will trust it.
I wouldn't even trust it because
they will look for a loophole. They'll say it is not it.
I just have my point.
Hold on. I think whether that certificate is genuine or fake or whatever it is, you see, at this stage of the case that is on appeal, the court is going to decide on what has been argued already in the court of first instance. I know there's an exception in law that if a certificate or a document have been mentioned during the substantive suit before the court of first instance, and the parties were able to prove to the court that they could not procure it, and they procure it on appeal, it can be looked upon, but the weight that we attach to it in terms of evidence is actually very weak and low. The issue is this: I do not support the APC, the PDP, or the Labour Party. I don't support any. What I look at is the law. My primary constituency, where I embrace, is that the evidence that we're even talking about that the PDP want to get, it is not a guarantee that is what will not determine at the court of Supreme Court that this judgment will not be overturned just because they have secured one certificate from one Chicago university. The university said he attended the school. The issue of authentication, the school cannot authenticate. There's a court. Let the court make a ruling. Now we are running in between when to file within 14 days and how to acquire whatever it is the court is going to release, so that on appeal this judgment of the Court of Appeal will be upturned. So, see, the court does not work the way people
expect it to.
People see it. It doesn't work like that. The court will act on evidence, and this evidence are evidence that, and it's not enough that the court will just act on evidence. Sometimes the weight the court plays on evidence also determine whether or not that evidence will ground the claim of the party so tendering same. Okay, so I think we should relax on this issue, and then the parties that want to go on appeal, let them go on appeal on the merits. At least it is not the certificate issue only that was canvassed.
All right.
The canvass issues of substantial non-compliance in the Electoral Act and how affected the outcome. They canvass the issues of forfeiture. They canvass issues of IRF and substantial non-compliance. They canvass so many issues.
25% of Abuja.
25% of Abuja and the rest of that. You have canvassed it. I will not.
Even glitches, and the glitches.
Yes.
Substantial, non-substantial.
Election petitions I've done so far. I try as much as possible to stay away from canvassing irregularities or substantial non-compliance that affect the outcome.
Yes.
Because the burden of proof is heavy. The burden of proof is that you have to go from polling unit to polling unit, and you need witnesses to ground,
which is difficult to attain.
Yes, and you have a limited time to even present your case. You have a limited time within this case can be determined. It's very difficult to even succeed at that. But when you begin to attack issues of qualification as predicated on Section 137 of the Constitution, Section 131 of the Constitution, and issues of fraud and all that, it makes it easier for you because those ones can be proven. It's either black or white. Perhaps that is why so much pressure, the PDP is putting so much pressure on this certification thing.
Yes.
Because if you're able to ground your claim on that ground, you have upturned this case. Okay, but they must be able to, they must ensure that truly where they are going to and what they are canvassing is truly that. If the school has said you attended a school, I mean, what else are you going to dig out? What do you want to dig out from the school to dig them out of?
All right. Let's look at this particular information. You do again. We're still talking on the presidency and a couple of the issue with the presidency and misinformation, or would I use misinformation or not being clear when it comes to clarity with the truth? Let's just say the truth. Tell us this is what you're doing, we take it. Tell us this is what it is, we take it. So I don't know if you recall, the president was invited to India for the G20. Was it India? No, invited for the G20 summit.
It's India.
It's India, right? Okay. Yeah. He was invited for the G20 summit, and Nigerians were wondering, are you part of G20? What exactly are you going in there for? But we're kind of happy that he would try to help us reestablish connections with these countries. There'll be improvement on our economic policies and trade policies, encouraging bilateral trade. Now, the president came back and we heard from the presidency that the visa ban that was placed by the United Arab Emirates to, Nigeria had been lifted. In fact, it was all over and we're like, wow, we're so excited. The president is working. This is it. This is the action that Nigerians need. And then questions arose as to, okay, fine, even if this ban has been lifted, of what economic benefit is it to Nigeria? Who are the people that travel to Dubai? What did they travel there for? We had a couple of politicians who complained that even if this visa is lifted, what are the other measures too that should be countered by the UAE? They complained that politicians siphon money through there. A lot of them have their bank accounts there. They have the fraudulent activities are done through that means. So they also want that, this Yahoo boys and all of that stuff goes in them. And then they're looking, what is basically the economic benefit though? Who is benefiting more when the ban is lifted off? Are we benefiting from them? And what caliber of Nigerians are benefiting from the UAE's ban being lifted off? Is it not the rich politicians, the elite, who would still benefit from this? The economic relationship, actually, is it balanced in the scale of balance? Who benefits more? The UAE benefits more. If you look at how much we have to pay in terms of the dollar, if you look at how much expenses we pay anytime we have to travel there, basically we spend more. So what are we gaining? What exactly are we gaining? And that was a question that was asked. All of a sudden we heard that they contradicted the claims by the Nigerian government that they had lifted the visa ban, and everybody was shocked. Thank God I didn't carry that news. It wasn't a topic of conversation in my news here, because when this news come up, we like to take it, because I was wondering if something had been lifted. We're supposed to see the report from the UAE. When that agreement was signed, there'll be a press conference to that effect. We hear any of the United Arab Emirates members or their political team tell us that, okay, thank you, we've lifted. We didn't hear anything, so I had to suspend that particular report. Now, they contradicted that claim, and this report came up on Friday. In fact, CNN quoted an official of the UAE as saying the visa ban on Nigerians is still in effect so far. There are no changes on the Nigeria-UAE travel status so far. CNN said the source asked not to be named because it is not authorized to speak to the media. Now, in October 2022, the United Arab Emirates immigration authorities announced a ban on visa applications from Nigerians. 1 month later, the Emirates suspended flight operations to Nigeria for the second time in the year over its inability to repatriate $85 million revenue trapped in the country. The airline had taken a similar decision in August last year. Now, on Monday, Ajirin Ngalale, the presidential spokesman, said the UAE has lifted the visa ban. The decision, he said, was reached by the president when he met with Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, UAE's president, in Abu Dhabi. He also said Emirates and Etihad Airlines are expected to resume flight operations in Nigeria immediately. And during the closing ceremony of the 7th African Aviation Summit in Abuja, Festus Keyamo II, Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, had said the government is working on the fine details to aid the commencement of flight operations between both countries. Gentlemen, please explain to me what this means.
You see, when we run a country where we don't, distill information before going public.
You say distill? For Ajuri Ngalale, who is the spokesperson?
I'm talking about that Ngalale and Keyamo or whatever. Because we are aware that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had a meeting. But they will have waited to know the outcome of the meeting and things that they discussed, and not to imagine conjecture. Because the president of Nigeria and president of Dubai at UAE met. Now, because of that conviviality, that fraternity, or that relation, that newfound relationship, that whatever issue that might be in existence between the two countries would have been resolved. I'm not sure. I'm not speaking on his behalf. I mean the president. I'm not sure the president directly told them, or they were in that meeting. Our president told them that part of the outcome of this meeting was the resolution that the ban hitherto placed in Nigeria has been lifted by UAE. I'm not sure he said that, but for what we have been seeing in Nigeria, especially because I have to be honest, CPC government took over martial law leadership. We know Lai Mohammed was so good in coming up with propaganda. We don't call it lies. If you call it
call it lies.
You don't call it lies.
You call it what?
You call it propaganda, because that's the name they give lies in politics and government corridors. You call lies propaganda. Yes, Lai Mohammed was good at that, without verifying information and everything, and then they go public. Even the other time, the aviation minister told us that we have actually launched Air Nigeria and all that, and eventually we saw what happened. But these things are quite pathetic and highly condemnable. That you just dish out information from a high-profile office without verifying or vetting that information before going public. You mislead people, the foreigners in Nigeria. You mislead the internal investors. You mislead Nigerian populace. You mislead Nigerian people, and you put the name of Nigeria, in a kind of odious situation, and may make it look like a pariah before the world. It seems that, look, people are not serious in Nigeria, because for a spokesperson of the president to go ahead to give unverified information to the public, I don't.
Barrister Evans, okay.
Because then, if president had actually told them that was the outcome of the meeting, it means that the president also is lying to Nigerians. But I wonder what the president set out to achieve we put up such dubious information.
Maybe the president miscomprehended the body language of the UAE.
No, it cannot
it
cannot miscomprehend a body language.
Oh, really?
Every statement that will emanate from official quarters must be officially stated. It must be just like a lawyer now. I was telling somebody today, I said, look, let's put that in writing. Let's send it to them. Let them acknowledge. If they fail to do that, let us copy someone and give that person a copy. There must be something concrete. A president of a nation is not just like any other person. You don't just come and conjecture or imagine and then go public. You're not like, if you're talking to your family. These are things that will affect airline operators, affect people that may want to travel and other things.
But I need to ask Barrister Evans.
Must be condemned in its entirety.
Barrister Evans, Ufeli, would you think that they were too excited when the president returned, and possibly the president said there is a possibility that the visa ban will be, lifted, and possibly the spokesperson was so excited and quickly made that announcement? Do you think that was the scenario played? Because it seemed ridiculous when the CNN released this particular information. I saw some cartoons.
It was being thrown out of
it was not so. What do you say to that?
Yeah, we cannot sit here and create what the president must have said when he came out from the meeting. We can't create it. We're not there. So in based on the fact, in the absence of the fact that we're not there, and that we did not know what the president actually communicated to during Hilary, who is the spokesperson for the president, I feel that the information was a false information.
Okay.
It was not just unverified. Not just unverified, but it was a false information. And it is actually a minus for the government on that reference. I would have expected a situation where, because apart from during Hilary, what's his name? The former House of Rep, Gbajabiamila House of Rep Speaker, was also together with the president in that journey. So I expected that there were enough competent hands, people who are experienced in government, that were with the president. I do not want to blame the president wholesomely, but that I want to say that the person who released the information is the one whom we should ask where he got the information from. Because it turned out that perhaps they didn't think proper to know that after you release yours, which is false, the other party will release theirs to let people know that this is not actually what turned out.
Of course.
And the fact that they have a serious financial issue here, issue of repatriation, when we already have issues of foreign participation in business according to our own laws that guarantee 100% repatriation of funds. So when we're in dereliction of that and funds are trapped here, and our CBN and all the policies on finance, on foreign policy and foreign investment, we seem to be lagging behind. We have not complied. There's no compliance already. Then to now add this, to that, it makes it so cumbersome. In as much as Nigerians wish that this ban is lifted, in as much as we yearn for it, because some of us will travel through that route and we do some days in Dubai, then we advance. It's not the reason why you should sell that. And also because you have a large population of those who feel that this president shouldn't be there. As much as we have a large population of those who feel he should be there, there's a question of legitimacy. And now you think if you throw that to the public, it will overnight now create legitimacy for this government. I don't think that is right. What they should have done was to restrict themselves to exactly what was discussed and the outcome. And then they can now put a clause and say, given that the UAE leadership and the Nigerian leadership have discussed this so far, we believe that a time will come when this issue of the visa ban will be addressed in future, in no distant time, and that too will have a breakthrough there. So you keep the people adequately informed. But when you just came out and then you start to talk about the fact that this and this and this have been resolved, not knowing that you are an information age, where immediately you are making that statement, the authorities over there are getting it. and they are looking at themselves and say, when did we discuss this? It does not really, it makes the public lose even the confidence they have reposed in the government to do the right thing and then to inform them.
The little one, the little confidence.
What they ought to have done is to ensure that they give the people the right information. If you cannot give the people the right leadership, give them the right information.
All right.
If you can't give them the right leadership and you can't give them the right information, and it appears what you are doing is fraudulent, then it will mean that the legitimacy you are trying to garner, you would have lost them completely.
That's basically the bone of contention, actually. All right, it's time for us to open the phone line. 0700 903 903 903. That's the number for you to call. 0700 903 903 903. The WhatsApp number is 0700 903 9039. 0700 903 9039. That's the WhatsApp number. Meanwhile, the number to call to actually be part of the conversation this evening is 0700 903 9039. You're currently listening to the program Political Spotlight on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachuku, and you've been listening to the legal practitioners in the studio, Barrister Joe Nwokedi and of course Barrister Evans Ufeli. We've been dissecting the issues that trended during the week, especially concerning the contention on the president's CSU certificate, him attending the school or not, and the discrepancies that lie in there, why he tendered it if he knew that it was not on lock. And of course, we also talked about other speculations concerning the Labour Party and the PDP having to proceed to the Supreme Court. Some persons think, some legal practitioners, some supporters, or some supposed experts in the communication field feel that they shouldn't proceed to the Supreme Court to defend or appeal what the Presidential Election Petition Court has actually declared, saying it to be a waste of financial resources, a waste of time, and should not even give any hope concerning the matter. Others believe that even if it is going to be a waste of time, well, let us just go let's appeal the Apex Court and let us know exactly what our fate is. They should continue to strive to get due diligence and justice. That is it. We're also talking about the UAE visa ban that the presidency said had been uplifted, and it turns out to be that it wasn't indeed uplifted as of now. It has not been uplifted compared to what we heard from the presidency. That was the case when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu returned to the country. Hello, good evening. Hello. Good evening. I am fine. How are you, sir?
I'm okay, Mr.
Yes, I know. Good evening, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm listening to your guest.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, sir. Continue.
Yes. In fact, I am really worried. I am telling you, from what I'm hearing from that studio, I am really worried. A situation where our elections are now decided by witches is not good. Whether they are red witches or whether they are black witches or whether they are white witches, it is not good. Anybody who loves this country should condemn it. So all of us should belong to their group before we can move forward in life. Is that what they're telling us? I mean, look at how they are saying with impunity and arrogance. So people and Atiku should come into their group so that they cannot decide their case even before the court will do their judgment. That is what these people are saying. The last time I checked, it is said that you tell me your friends, I will tell you whom you are. Are they now suggesting that Tinubu is part of them? Is it not what is of Nigeria to think along this line? That such a group, are they a registered group? What is their input in this country? What is their value? What is their value? What value are they adding to this country except to be supporting this type of shenanigans? Is that what somebody wants us to clap for them that yeah, they have done so well? Look at how they are saying it. They are not even bothered. So our nation now decided that witches are wizards, Abi. I never knew to get it to this level. I never knew, seriously. I never knew. I am beginning to think seriously about Tinubu. No wonder he is acting with so much impunity and arrogance. I wish him well.
All right, thank you, Darlington. Thank you for calling in. 0700 903 903 903. That's the number to call. 0700 903 903 903, and the WhatsApp number is 0700 903 9039. Okay, so I have this message from Olu from Badagry. Olu says, Esther, if Nigerians really want change, like you said, they should have put their eggs in one basket like APC did to defeat PDP in 2015, with different parts coming together to give the majority vote. Esther, how can opposition that divide their vote into 3 individual personality on the day of election, Atiku, Obi and Kwankwaso, and you expect them to defeat the ruling party? It's not possible. We should stop raising some people's hope where there is no hope. You can't defeat your enemies with a divided house. The opposition should start preparing for 2027 election now by coming together. Thank you, Olu from Badagry, for that message. Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Political Spotlight. Evening. All right, go ahead.
Well,
I can't hear you. What did you say? Hello?
I said that President Tinubu is not going to do this to the country. He told us he don't know policy, nothing. He just decided to do as Buhari is brother, nothing to show. So why are they bothered about it? Let him continue and rule 8 years and leave. He don't have any to offer. That's my mistake. Let anybody come arrest him. Let him come. He's not ready to offer.
Okay, thank you. Well, some people will say it's still early days for the president, so let's be patient and see how most of the policies that he has talked about would properly be implemented, and possibly we may be singing a different song in the next 4 or 5 or 6 months, or possibly 1 year. 0700 903 903 903. That is the number to call. 0700 903 903 903. The WhatsApp number is 0700 903 9039. Okay, so you didn't put your name, please, when you send a message. Okay, Nemeka, you did at the beginning. Thank you, Nemeka, for sending this message. Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Hello, welcome to the Political Spotlight. Please go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Benga from Abulegwa.
Benga, please go ahead.
I want to talk about your guests.
Okay.
They are not being sincere.
All right.
Now, let me tell you, they were talking about the official from the UAE that said they did not agree on the whatever. Did they mention the official? They are mentioning a jury's name. That a jury says so. Did the official from the UAE, what is his name?
The official from the UAE that disclosed that the ban has not been lifted?
Yeah, what is his name?
The official said he did not want his name to be disclosed, and it was actually announced on the CNN network. So for now, in fact, the following day,
did you know the reporter that reported that on CNN?
The following day, Festus Keyamo actually came to make clarifications on the visa ban. They actually said modalities are still being worked on. Yes, so Festus Keyamo made a statement to that, meaning verifying what the report said about the fact that the ban was still in place. Go ahead there.
Hello, my point is, if there's a statement like that, do you expect this plane to start flying the next day? Would they not work out modality with airline not announce their flight for like 2 weeks before people will book flight? Okay. Can you book UAE today and fly today? Would they not book their flight over time for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month? You can book a month ahead. They should go and find out, not listening to sources that cannot be confirmed.
Okay.
That's the person that the reporter for CNN that reported that news was a former People's Gazette that is reported for fake news in Nigeria.
Okay. Now, Mr. Can I read out something to you? Yes, you're very right. It will definitely not take place immediately. Okay, so wait. Now, Ajuri Ngalali, wait. You said something. Ajuri Ngalali made a statement that they had lifted the visa ban, right? He said the decision was reached after the president returned to the country. And he also said that Emirates and Etihad Airlines are expected to resume flight operations in Nigeria immediately. So it wasn't a cooked up story. Ajuri was the one that said that.
When you say immediately,
that is what he said. That is what the presidential spokesperson said.
it does not mean that they will not work out modality. The two countries will still have to sit to work out. They have agreed, so they have to work out modalities. That is the statement.
So, but you're not, and I'm reading out to you that he said immediately. Why using the word immediately? That was what Ajuri said. It doesn't matter. Why? No, now as a spokesperson, okay, wait, go ahead.
Listen to me. If you sign a contract today, and it takes that doesn't mean that you can lay a asphalt of road the day you sign the contract, and the contract takes effect immediately. Things have to be worked out first before you can say planes will begin to fly. But it does not mean that immediately plane will start flying. It does not mean that they will not work out some of the modalities.
Now, okay, so I want to tell you something where communication is important. Ajuri Ngalali is a spokesperson. Communication is very important, and words used in communication are also very vital. For Festus Keyamo, this statement you're making now, Festus Keyamo was the one that implemented it. For him, he said that the minister said the government is working on the fine details. Do you see where the two made different statements? Wait, we're both saying the same thing, but I want you to understand.
The president is insincere.
I want you to understand where the communication needs to be communicated properly. Ajuri said immediately that to resume flight operations immediately. Festus Keyamo came on public. Wait now. That is what I'm telling you. What Ajuri Ngalali said. Wait, and I'm trying to tell you that Festus Keyamo said. Wait now. Festus Keyamo now said that fine details were being worked on to aid the commencement of flight operations. This was Festus. There is a difference. Ajuri Ngalali said that immediately flight operations are to commence. That is what Ajuri said. Festus Keyamo said fine details are being worked on. Are you understanding what I'm saying? You just don't want to listen. I'm telling you on the miscommunication that was made between the two.
The president is lying. That's what I'm particular about. For them to say the president is lying.
My brother, they said we are all lawyers. You can't go. What cause that something takes effect immediately? Operation.
That was what Ajuri Ngalali said.
It takes effect soon. I mean, you are just for the one contradicting yourself. If I say that this money is to be paid immediately, you go and pay the money. Okay. We are relying on what they said. We even say we are not there. We even said here that the president might not have meant that. It might be like a conjecture.
Now, when I introduced this topic, what did I say? I said, okay, fine. The certificate situation is still a conjecture.
Yes.
Now, Nigerians want a situation where they can believe whatever it is the presidency said. Let's just say that the president had made a mistake with that particular certificate. But with what transpired with him returning from the G20 summit, and Ajuri gave a declaration, or rather stated that the UAE visa ban had been lifted. And he said, it's not something, he said the suspended flights will resume immediately. This statement was made on Monday. He said the decision was reached after the president met with Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, UAE president in Abu Dhabi. He said the Emirates and the Emirates and Etihad Airlines are to
resume.
Okay, sir, I do apologize. I'm having the flu. I'm having a cough. So he said that the Etihad and Emirates Airlines are to resume operations immediately. That was what Ajuri Ngalali said. Now, the person that properly communicated was Festus Keyamo, who said that fine details were still being worked on at the moment to see how the situation can be resolved. All for CNN to come give a report that the flight ban is still in play. And we also heard from Festus Keyamo too, who also confirmed that statement by saying that the flight ban is still at play, although the communication processing is still ongoing. I think for the person who called, he's trying to say, why are you saying the president is lying?
Let's go. Nobody said so. Nobody said the president is lying. We all took the issue.
I was even trying to show the president. When I was saying that we are not there, maybe he misread the president, or maybe the president was not even communicated.
Hello, come on. Hello, good evening. Yeah, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Hello. Are you hearing me?
I can hear you
Good
very well.
evening.
Yes, evening.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Bias. I'm calling from Madagascar.
All right, please go ahead.
Yes. Please, you take so much time in addressing an issue, ordinarily that you should not.
Okay.
If you have a supporter of president is prepared to tell you that even they are enjoying, even when they are not suffering, they are suffering.
Okay.
It's just like that. That's how far we have descended so low.
Okay.
The issues are very clear. They say the visa ban is lifted. The information is in the air. Then Larry says the ban of visa restriction has been lifted. Every one of us know. So if this man is living in a dream world or in a spiritual life, maybe we can excuse it. We have allowed him to take the whole of our time.
Okay.
One thing is very clear. The presidential spokesman say the visa ban has been lifted and the UAE they denied it, and that's all. And we have a verifiable evidence from the CNN, who says that they claim it. And Nigeria, who is to be put to shame? Is it not Nigeria government and their agencies? Instead of us not to say to put our head in shame, somebody is trying to defend what we know is done. It's not defendable. And we are giving him room to say. In such cases, you off it before.
Everybody has a right. Everybody has a right to express themselves here now. He had to. Okay.
No, listen to me. By his own statement and defense, he might even be passing some kind of misinformation to others of his cohort.
Okay.
He might be thinking you are the one who is even trying to victimize him or the president.
Okay.
But be that as it may, our Nigerian people, they want to bring to us that they are working hard. But the end will actually justify the means. They are started on the wrong footing, and they are finding it very hard to correct everything. They want what they.
Hello.
That will help all of them.
All right.
Good
Okay.
night.
Thank you. 0700 903 903 903. That's the number to call. 0700 903 903 903. And the WhatsApp number is 0700 903 9039. Barrister Evans Sufeli.
Yeah.
Well, I would like us to go back to this conversation because it's important for us to talk about it briefly. Hello?
Hello, good evening, madam.
Evening. Yeah. Name and location, please. You said? Okay, Nemeka, you've sent a message before, right?
Yes, I just forward you, but typing message. You always order to type message. I know they see talk what I want to talk on message.
Oh yeah, talk.
Let me. First of all, my listening to your guests. I agree of them. They have done the. If everybody want to tackle you about misinformation, you think direct to the presidential, because they are the people always in a hurry to drop information which is not credible. And when they do that, they know it will backfire. Nigeria does not want to. We don't want to impress us the agenda. Impress us with works. Information out. And that guy particular watch is always on that Kremlin stage. From the day they appoint into that work, that's why let them manage that old man well, please. It takes this to the whole nation, not only them. Let them manage that well. We are begging them.
All right, thank you, Nemeka.
In the case of the other side of which is a wizard talking, let all the whole pastors know they defend them. Maybe come here, which is a wizard. Tomorrow, they can know what they go to cast for their thoughts inside. Then God bless you people.
Thank you. I'd like to take one more call so we can wrap up the program. 0700 903 903 903. That's the number to call. 0700 903 903 903. Hello. Hello. Please kindly turn down the audio of your radio when you call 0700 903 903 903. 0700 903 903 903. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Evening. What's your name, please? Evening. Name and location, please.
This is the author calling from Igondo, Lagos Mainland.
All right, thank you. Please, you have less than a minute. Go ahead.
All right. I just want to talk on the part of saying that Labour Party and the PDP shouldn't go to court anymore.
Shouldn't bother going to apex court. Okay.
Okay, so my own is all hope is not lost yet. To me, let's see what the court has to say. That's the final judgment. So when we get to hear what they have to say, that's when we'll now conclude on the decision, if it's okay and if it's what we have to accept the way it is or not. So on the visa ban, it was not sent. You wouldn't have come out to say that.
Okay.
So the one that is trying to argue blindly, I wouldn't blame him, because to me, it's obvious he's from the opposition party. So let's just take it like that. Let's watch and see how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that's our last call on the program this evening. I'll start with you in less than a minute. Barrister Evans Philly, what do you have to say?
Yeah, what I have to say is that we need to allow litigants to ventilate and, exhaust their options of appeal. Who knows? Sometimes when you allow them to exhaust their options of appeal, they get consoled on what has happened. And sometimes when you allow them to exhaust their options of appeal, they clinch victory. So the option of appeal is relevant because it also enriches our jurisprudence. Okay. We achieve and acquire precedents through that course. Issues are resolved by the apex court, and then it becomes precedent for future reference. Now, as to the issue of the certificate and all that, parties are allowed to procure evidence. Nobody, not the school, individuals, opposition party, should make, or lawyers under the adverse party should make statements like fishing expedition and all that, allow people to prepare their case. Even the law, the constitution said that people will be given adequate time and facility to prepare for their case, so that's relevant. And the general public should be careful how they
make statements or analysis
to inflame the politics.
Barrister, please come closer to the mic.
And the issue of the information regarding the visa, lifting of the visa ban and other things. So I'll be like advising the spokesperson of the president, who is also invariably the spokesperson of the country, to interrogate information, access information, review information, digest information before going public. Okay. So that such information will not lead to ridicule and embarrassment of the people of Nigeria. For CNN to high-profile media outfit to begin to say that what actually the whole president of Nigeria communicated through his spokesperson is false. It's an indictment of every Nigerian and the responsibility of the government. So they should know that they are serving the public and should take their job seriously.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Barrister John Wokedi. Barrister Evans Ufele, I do sincerely appreciate your input on the political spotlight. We need to wrap up the program. My name is Esther Wachiku. First of all, I would like to say something. I know that I do hope that the police will do something about it. The situation with one of the musicians called Mobad and the way he passed on is quite depressing and devastating. I do hope that the Nigerian police will do the needful to investigate how this young boy, very talented young boy, died. Most of these young boys who get into most of these activities, it is not by their doing, it is by the circumstances. And persons who have the ability to help should help as best as they can, not mutilate these children, not make them get into more trouble, not make them regret ever wanting to taste whatever it is that they want to taste.
Investigate cases
now,
if reported.
Yes, now apparently the boy reported the harassment and intimidation.
For what we have.
Yes, for Atalab, but the receipts were, displayed out there and nothing happened. Nobody responded. The spokesperson of the Nigerian police force, or for Lagos State actually, Hunde has made a statement. He said that they will investigate, possibly conduct an autopsy as to identify the cause of death. I do hope it's not going to be like what happened in one of the school where the boy was bullied and they said they investigated. We didn't hear the outcome eventually. That case is done with. Swept under the carpet. Exactly. So I do hope it's not one of those situations. That boy died. That secondary school young boy died. I do hope that this is not one of such a situation. The government should do the needful. We can no longer continue to have children waste unnecessarily. And Court-related cases, whatever it is, should be properly investigated. Culprits put behind bars, regardless of whatever status or hierarchy you occupy. It is our job as media practitioners to always put to light these issues that affect everyone. I don't know how many people have been affected by this kind of scenario, but I do hope that the government does the needful as best as they can. My name is Esther Nwachukwu once again. My social media handle is at Esther Nwaz on Instagram, Esther Nwachukwu on Twitter, Esther Nwachukwu on Facebook.
Yeah, my name is Evans Ufeli across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And John Walker across both.
Thank you very much. And up next, of course, you'll be having another interesting program. He has already come in. Thank you for staying with us.